So you brand new?
Illustrations by Pete.
I wanted to make this video for anyone who's interested in getting into abstract line and wash. You're brand new to art, or you've done art before. This is the first time you're doing this style of art. I wanted to make it very simple, very clean, very easy. It's going to be a shorter video, but I'm going to walk you through it. I'll explain every step along the way what I'm doing. It's a very simple, very easy steps. Anyone could do this. I'll guarantee it, or your money back. And don't worry, when you get good enough, you can get a blue light like this one. That's just what happens. So here we go. We're going to get into it, and I'm going to show you exactly what I do. Very simple. Anyone. It doesn't matter if you've never picked up a pen before. I know you have, but if you haven't, watercolor, you could do this with marker. I don't really care what you do it with. You use color and ink, and that's it. Alright, let's get into it. So have I mentioned that this is easy and anyone can do it? Have I mentioned that yet? Listen, I'm going to take you through this. It's very simple. We're going to make these little shapes that kind of look like they're in the Arizona desert somewhere. Some kind of weird rock formations, and you can make any shapes. You don't have to use these, but I'm going to use these because they're easiest to use, and they do create some variation. I also would recommend using granulating watercolor for this. It just helps. It creates its own texture for you, so you know exactly where to put the detail. And then you can even go back over and make a couple of spots darker or lighter, however you want to do that, in each shape. But lay in your color wherever you're laying it in. And I did say you could use marker or whatever. You can use colored pencil. It doesn't matter what you use. Colored pencil might be a little bit difficult with the ink going over the top because it's wax based. But anyway, you could use anything else. You can use markers, or you can use the water soluble pencils. Whatever you want to do here. The colored graphite, that's another great way to use this. You can... The colored graphite is, the water-soluble colored graphite is the best way if you're going to go that route. But otherwise, watercolor is very simple, very easy. You only need a couple colors. You put them on here, and then you look for where the darker spots are in the paint. And that's where you're going to put some hash marks. And some people call them hatch marks. I don't like that expression because I think of a hatch mark as me actually hitting the page with an axe. That's a hatch mark. These are hash marks. The hash is one half of a hashtag. The hashtag has two lines that go vertical and two that go horizontal. This, you're only doing one of those. You're only doing either the horizontal or the vertical. That's a hash mark. And if you were to do both, then that would be a hashtag mark. But that's just a personal pet peeve I have. That's what I call it. Just in case you're wondering what a hash mark is, that's what it is. So after you lay in your initial color, you're just going to go back, find where the darker spots are in those shapes, and just add some hashing. That's all you're doing. And then I went, just to make it more interesting, I went outside of the shapes and did a little design around them of hash marks. This is, when I say this is the easiest, basic, most basic thing that you could do for line and wash, for abstract art, I mean it. That's all this is. It's very basic line and wash. Anyone can do this. You do this a couple times, and at first you might not put those lines in the exact spot you want them. Think of them as shadows if you want. So always do it to one side, or only where there's dark areas in the color. Those are your two options to make it look a little bit more consistent with the whole overall picture. This is a very simple thing. If you can do anything, you can do this. No pressure. I don't mean to add pressure saying that if you didn't do this right, that it would mean something is wrong with. You can do this. It might take you a couple of tries, but I guarantee you can do it. It might take you 2 or 3 times. It's not bad. The other thing is, since you're not going in with a lot of heavy washes, you can do this on almost any kind of watercolor paper. It does not have to be cotton, although this is the B paper, Be Creative watercolor book. It has 100% cotton paper, but you don't have to use that. This will work just fine on cellulose paper. You're not trying to lift things. You're not putting in a bunch of washes. I do go over a couple of the colors a couple times, blend them a little bit, but you don't have to. You can do this however you want to do it. This would be a good project, actually, if you were going to do something for, like, if you have kids in school, or if you are a kid in school. This is not for children, this channel. Sometimes I don't say the right things, but just pretend you're not. If you have kids in school, and you know they have to put those book covers on the outside of their textbooks, and most of the time we use things like paper bags. You just fold the paper bag and you just put it in. You can cover the bag, and then, or the book rather, and then you can put a little design on the front and make it look however you want. This is good for like a geology book or something like that. You do something like this, your teacher will love it. So here's the problem I always had with that. You know, there was a graphic designer that was paid probably well, but maybe not, because it's maybe not. We'll see. But the point is, they put a lot of effort into a book cover. Ask any writer if they put a lot of effort into the cover of the book to make it appealing for people that they make them want to open up and read what's inside. They put a lot of time into that. And now you're covering it with a paper bag. I don't think that's right. I understand it makes the book last longer, whatever. It doesn't matter. If that's the way it's going to be, then take a copy of what's on the book itself that someone put a lot of effort into, and make a cover out of that. Make a separate cover, like you do with some books. You have a just paper covering over the hard cover of the book, and it matches the same thing that's actually on the hardcover. It's just a paper fold over. But something like that. I think it's very insulting to the artist, and that person is a graphic designer. They're artists. They have to decide what to put on there to make it interesting. They're an artist, and you're covering their work with a paper bag. I think that's a little insulting. I know if I designed a textbook, I would be a little insulted if someone covered my work with a paper bag. That's very insulting. They're saying, you know, like, oh, we want to protect your cover so much that we're going to cover it so no one can see it. Now, I know they have the clear ones, but no one really uses that. Most people use the paper bag. That's what they use. I remember people used to pay for covers for books. The paper bag is the perfect cover for a book if you have to use it. But I don't know what that is. Somewhere in the education system, they decided, yeah, we know that there's a cover on this book that someone spent a lot of time and energy developing, but we want you to cover it up anyway, because that'll preserve the cover, actually. But who cares if it preserves the cover? You're never going to see it. It's always going to be covered by a book cover, and then when you give the book back the next year, someone else is going to cover that with a book cover. No one actually sees that cover ever, so why do you care if it gets ruined? Just let them not have the book cover, and then if they get ruined, then you put the book cover on it. That way it looks cleaner. But otherwise, just let people use the book the way it was made. That just about sums up the public school system, in my opinion. They just do things for no good reason, and then they expect everybody to follow what they're doing, even though there's not really a reason to do it. It doesn't matter. That's a personal thing, and that has nothing to do with teachers at all. I love teachers. I have teachers in my family. There are teachers that I know that are not in my family, that they're wonderful people. It has nothing to do with teachers. It has to do with the whole system itself. They do things like that, things that don't make sense, or that they think make sense to them, but it really doesn't make sense. It really has no positive effect on anyone. And that leads me to one more thing. Contradictory advice from teachers. When I was in school, they like to think that they're a lot smarter than they are. And again, this is nothing against teachers. You know who you are if you're one of those people. And every teacher knows a teacher that's like that thinks that they are the pinnacle of intelligence just because they are a teacher. Here's the thing. I heard this advice in school, and I've continued to hear it through my entire life, and people say it like it's some deep meaning of something. living every day like it's your last day. That's the worst advice I've ever heard in my life, especially for a teacher to give a student, because guess what? If it was their last day, they wouldn't be in your class. They wouldn't be preparing for college. They wouldn't be preparing for the workforce. If this was their last day, they'd be out doing the stupid things that kids would like to do. And so I took their advice and didn't go to the class and lived like it was my last day. And then I did terrible in school. That's horrible advice. Don't give that kind of advice to a child. That's dumb. Because if they believe you and they follow your advice, they're going to do stupid things. And I don't think that's good advice for anyone. Unless it is actually your last day, or for some reason that day you have no responsibilities, you don't have to be anywhere, you don't have to watch anybody or take care of anybody, and then you want to live that day like it's your last day, that's still terrible advice. Because then you'd empty your bank account on whatever you wanted to buy. You wouldn't put any money away for the future. You wouldn't pay your rent, that's for sure, or your mortgage, or your tax payment, or your car payment. You'd say, this is my last day, I don't have to do that. I don't have to deal with the consequences of it, I'm not doing it. And that's just, it's all around bad advice. I don't know why people keep saying this, like they think that it makes them some kind of deep person or intelligent or wise person. It's bad advice. Don't say that to anyone ever. That's just my 2 cents. That's all I wanted to say. This video, like I said, very easy. I wanted to encourage you to try something very simple and get that down on paper and move forward and just get some confidence doing this, because I like the way this looks. If I'm being honest, this is my favorite thing to do. If I have nothing else that I have to do, nothing else that I'm trying to do, this is the easiest mindless thing. If I'm trying to de-stress, I don't want to think about anything, I just want to relax and draw. This is the easiest thing I could ever do. And I hope you are encouraged to try this because it's fun. I love these. I like it, and I'm gonna say that in every video, but it's fun, I enjoy it, I like it, and that's why I do it. So thumbs up the video if you know someone who has ever told you this terrible advice of living every day like it's your last, and think that it's wonderful advice they're giving you, that they're so wise behind that, and just, oh, I just know so much, just live every day like it's your last. And then you punch them in the face and you run. No, don't do that. I didn't mean that. Take that, strike that from the record. I can't cut it, it's in the show. But don't do that. But you could, and then run away, and it doesn't matter. You wouldn't have to pay for the consequences of that. So, but anyway, just think about what this is and what this could be, and give it a shot, give it a try. Let me know how it works out for you. Go down in the comments below. Tell me if you think you can handle something like this, if you want to try something like this, and if you want to see more things like this from me. That's about it for me. I'm going to go, and I'll see you in the next one.